flames in the night, masked men in the hills, and villages across the West Bank waking to smoke, blood, and fear. Settler attacks are now near daily, even as Israel pushes plans critics say will kill the two-state solution forever. And inside a prison cell, Ben-Gvir taunts Palestinian leader Barghouti on camera. This is not just unrest, it's a fight for land, power and survival. Several Palestinians were injured in an overnight reported attack by Israeli settlers in the southern West Bank village of Susia on August 15th. Footage from the scene showed a bloodied man before he was reportedly evacuated to the hospital along with his wife, who was also wounded in the attack. There are no reports of arrests, which are highly rare in such incidents of settler violence that have been taking place on a near-daily basis throughout the West Bank. In another attack, Israeli settlers reportedly hurled Molotov cocktails at homes, vehicles and property in the Palestinian village of Itamar in the central West Bank. The Palestinian village of Burqa, nestled on a hilltop in the West Bank, has faced a surge in violent attacks by masked arsonists, believed to be Israeli settlers, since the outbreak of the Gaza war in October 2023. On one night in July, attackers set fire to cars in a junkyard and sprayed graffiti with the word revenge and the name of a nearby settlement, marking the 7th such incident at that site since the war began. According to Mohammed Saber Asalaya, the junkyard's owner, these attacks aim to push Palestinians off their land and expand settlements. This escalation is part of a broader wave of settler violence, which increased dramatically before and has intensified since the war in Gaza. United Nations records show over 750 documented attacks by settlers in the first half of 2025, a monthly average higher than at any point since tracking began. The Israeli military reports similar trends, but documents fewer cases, and a New York Times investigation found long-standing failures by Israeli authorities to restrain or prosecute violent settlers. Reporters visited multiple villages and reviewed security footage revealing a pattern where masked settlers, usually at night but sometimes during the day, burn vehicles and property, threaten residents and incite confrontations, occasionally resulting in fatalities, even of a Palestinian-American child. Most of the 700,000 Jewish Israelis living in settlements since 1967 do not participate in such violence, but hardline settler leaders openly admit their goal is to intimidate Palestinians into abandoning key areas. Settlement expansion has accelerated, with over 130 new outposts constructed since 2023, more than in the previous 2 decades combined. These unauthorized encampments often go unchecked, or are retroactively approved by Israel's government, which has authorized more than 30 settlements since Netanyahu's return to office in late 2022. Settler violence has shifted from targeting isolated herding communities, forcing at least 38 to flee, toward larger, better-connected villages near Ramallah. Attacks now average 17 per month in a central 40-square-mile area, almost double the prior year's rate. Alongside physical violence, Israeli military operations have further destabilized Palestinian life. Military actions, roadblocks and demolitions affected local economies and made daily life increasingly untenable, especially for villages like Sabra Asalaya. The lack of effective response from Israeli police and military authorities amplifies the hardship, as perpetrators are seldom prosecuted or arrested for more than brief questioning, exacerbating a dynamic in which Palestinian communities are increasingly vulnerable and their futures uncertain. Europe, Arab countries and the United Nations, alongside Israeli rights groups, have assailed a government plan to greenlight the construction of thousands of Israeli homes in a contentious area of the West Bank, after the move was announced by Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. the UN has called on Israel to reverse its decision. UN spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric said on August 14th,
"Our position on settlements is clear. The Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem, and the regime that's associated with these settlements go against international law. Settlements, to state the obvious, further entrench the occupation, put the prospect of a two-state solution even further away. And as you said, if this went ahead, and which we call on the Israeli government not to do, and we call them to reverse, to stop the advancement of this process, it would sever the northern and southern West Banks. And I think, interestingly enough, as the Israeli finance minister and the Palestinians and other NGOs all agree, it would put an end to the prospects of a two-state solution.
Meanwhile, the EU urged Israel to desist from its plan, with top diplomat Kaja Kallas saying in a statement,
"The decision of Israeli authorities to advance the E1 settlement plan further undermines the two-state solution while being a breach of international law."
The plan was also condemned by British Foreign Minister David Lammy, who said it marked a breach of international law and must be stopped immediately. Egypt came out firmly against the plan, with Cairo's foreign ministry denouncing the minister's extremist statements, saying they serve as a new indication of Israeli deviation and arrogance. A spokesman for Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas called on the United States to pressure Israel into halting the plan, calling it colonial, expansionist, and racist, and claiming that it is par for the course for Netanyahu's ruling coalition. Meanwhile, Israel's National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir visited the cell of prominent Palestinian terror convict Marwan Barghouti and appeared to taunt him in footage published on social media that drew outrage from the Palestinian Authority. Ben-Gvir can be heard telling a gaunt-looking Barghouti, "You won't win. Whoever messes with the nation of Israel, whoever murders our children and women, we will wipe them out. You should know this. This happened throughout history." It was the first sighting of Barghouti in over a decade. His family says he has been placed in solitary confinement since Hamas's October 2023 onslaught and has several times been brutally beaten by guards, charges that the Israel Prison Service has denied. Barghouti is widely regarded as a unifying figure within the Palestinian community. He was visibly distressed during the encounter, monitored by guards and cameras. The intimidating message has drawn immediate condemnation from Palestinian rights advocates and political officials who view it as a direct threat to Barghouti's life. Raid Abu al-Hummus, head of the Palestinian Prisoners and Ex-Prisoners Affairs Commission, condemned Ben-Gvir's actions, characterizing them as a public threat that reflects the dangerous intentions of a minister known for his history of inciting violence against Palestinians.